So I've been playing D4 Season 1. It's been months, well over a year, since D4 came out on the X-Blax Uno. I've been waiting for so long for part 2 to come out. I wanted to wait for it to be finished, but Swery, that fuck, is too occupied drinking. So I figured I might as well at this point.
It is review time, my homies. Smoke dat dank weed every day. Fuck bitches.
D4 is a game made by Swery, aka Hidetaka Suehiro, aka the guy what made Deadly Premonition. And because of Telltale and... it's an episodic game. Problem is, however, is that Swery is a stark-ravingly mad alcoholic. So, as my dumb stupid intro may have already told you, it's been quite a fucking while since part 1 came out. That first part, though, follows the tale of David Young, a Boston detective who done lost his wife through a murder killing and thus he has the PTSDs. And as we all know, that obviously grants him mysterious time travel teleporty superpowers. And of course, he starts abusing these to try and reverse the murder and find out who what done it. And the only clue he has to go by is the letter D. Insert a crazy cat lady, a flamboyant fashion designer, and Resident Evil man. Yeah, everyone in this game is fucking insane, and I bloody love it. Though I will admit that it does feel like a bit of a meme dispenser. It's almost like Swery, or perhaps its publisher Microshaft, saw the success of the SKs in my coffee and told him to make more of that. So a lot of it ends up feeling a bit forced and wacky zany instead of actual honest weirdness like Deadly Premonition. Still though, I prefer my characters to be diverse and memorable, and this game certainly fucking delivers. For better or for worse. Swery's trademark writing style has a lot of quirk, both intentional and unintentional. And while I could go on for hours about why I love it, or why I think that he's also kind of a hack, there are definitely some things in this game either way that I don't think I'll ever be able to unsee. Maybe it's because I played this at like 4 AM when even the dumbest shit starts being funny, but holy shit dude, was I laughing my nips off during some of the game's cutscenes. The banter at display here is quite fun to listen to, despite the fact that the overall plot may seem just a tad bit lost here and there. Hearing Kaysen go on about his wife, or seeing this dude flip out over his mannequin, it's all pretty well paced and directed. Surprisingly so even, considering the state of DP's cutscenes. Whether or not if that's due to Swery having more freedom, I don't know, but in any case, it did make for a much better presentation. One thing, on the other hand, that did bug me a little bit is how the game's writing seems just a little bit iffy. What I mean with that is that a lot of people will go on about things unexplained or things that'll only make sense to David but not to the player. The game seems very occupied with making jokes and being weird rather than making itself clear. In a way, some of it does kind of make sense as David travels through time, and thus I'm sure he's probably met some of these people under different circumstances, or that's what the game seems to be implying at least. But with no other parts to confirm this, shit just ends up feeling needlessly vague and pretentious. Swery seems to have a bonheur for the uncanniest of valleys though, so maybe this is just his idea of being cool or clever or whatever. And I honestly don't dislike the game's story at all. I think it's pretty cool. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I started this game saying, "What?" and ended the game saying, "What?" These cliffs can hang as much as they want, but in order to create intrigue and curiosity in the player, at least some solution to the pretty severe levels of wattage should be in order. As now, I don't really know what to feel in regards to even wanting this to continue or not, let alone how the people feel now that played this all the way back when it came out. Now, this is basically a point-and-click adventure game, only not quite in the sense that you do inventory puzzles, but more so in the sense that you just kinda, well, point at stuff and click on things. Thing is that you move on rails, and you can only look in certain directions, so it plays a bit like Myst, or I guess any old FMV game really. But then, to keep the theme of weird shit going, the game also has a lot of arcadey elements as well. How this works is that you get points from examining things by either clicking on them or hovering over them during play or during cutscene. However, doing that will cost you stamina, as indicated by this bar on the upper left side of Telly. And to keep your stamina up, you need to eat food what you can find scattered around the place, and you can also use your examination points to buy food from your cat, as well as a shit ton of other guff like alternate costumes. So basically, just examine and pick up everything you see in order to create this investigation streak by continuously getting points and eating food as to not let your stamina run out on you. And in a move I could only describe as Davy the Cage, the game is also ridden with QuickTime events.
I fucking love it though.
It's like this weird crossover between Myst and Dragon's Lair with a hint of Telltale and Heavy Rain in there. And the game even has some forced RPG mechanics like how cleaning your room will raise your max stamina, or how certain clothes will carry additional attributes and stuff. It's all pretty neat. It's just that the game is a bit too short to really see how all of these mechanics will end up affecting each other in the long run. Yeah, that's really the biggest problem with this game overall. It's unfinished. And I don't mean unfinished in the buggy Assassin's Creed / Steam indie games kind of way, but more so in the "where the fuck is part 2, goddammit, Swery, you drunk fuck" kind of way. What I mean with that is that all of the game's mechanics seem to be designed for a much longer game. The shop, the mild RPG elements, all of the collectibles, certain dialogue options, and special event triggers are all pretty cool ideas, but the game ends on a very cheap cliffhanger after about 3 to 4 hours. So, the effects of any of these things aren't really noticeable at all. This really stuck out to me when I noticed the missions board in David's apartment. It has room for a plethora of side quests, and tons of info regarding the main missions, but as it is now, there only are about 2 main missions, and a handful of side quests, aka cutscenes. Shit just feels kinda trashy like this, as if the game wasn't even really meant to be cut up in the first place. Like they just halted development a quarter of the way through to release this first episode just to test the waters or something. There's a lot to be said about episodic content, and I'm not someone who's willing to say any of that right now. But having the game end on a cliffhanger with no word of part 2 coming out more than a year after its initial release still is one of the worstest of the worst case scenarios to me. That said though, I wouldn't say that the game is necessarily starved for content. There is a lot to unlock here, like a spy fiction uniform for Kaysen and a shit ton of other outfits for other characters and beards for David. It doesn't really add much, but it's fun enough for what it is, and it encourages exploration as well. In fact, the entire game is rather exploratory-y, despite also being a linear cutscene compilation, as stupid as that may sound. Thing is that the gameplay never really stops because of Heavy Rain style QuickTime events and gestures. Now, I know, I can already feel you rolling your eyes and rubbing your nips, and That's fine, I get it. But this game does them in such a way where they don't suck by actually giving you some proper feedback. Something even as simple as adding some sound effects and sparkly bits already makes one hell of a difference. And the amount of gestures are varied enough for this not to become annoying or repetitive. It does have some things like David flipping through a book where you have to swipe the mouse to turn the pages, which are kinda meh in my opinion. But overall, being able to open cabinets and pushing around objects ends up feeling surprising exploratory fun time. I don't know. It's actually quite satisfying to just pick up gunk like some kind of asshole or scan objects mid-cutscene, as it not only gives you points or rewards you with food and items, but it also gives way to a lot of neat little Easter eggs and funny optional cutscenes. Ooh, yeah. It's like the game took mechanics essentially meant to almost de-gamify games and then gamified those mechanics, really making this one of the most addictive interactive movie games from a contextual standpoint. And that's quite the fucking achievement, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Definitely not perfect, but Swery's games never are, and in a way that's kinda part of their charm. Despite a few little niggles here and there, the only thing about this game that really didn't rub me in ways deemed satisfactory is the fact that the PC port ain't all that great. I mean, the swipey quick-timey things are a bit wonky with the mouse as opposed to the connect gestures from the OG version. An easy way to fix this would have been to have the player hold the mouse button while swiping to indicate your readiness of swipage, as now it'll initiate swipe mode the moment a prompt appears, regardless of where your mouse is situated on screen or even on your desk. So it'll register all movement, like getting ready to swipe the moment you're prompted, making the animations look a bit janky. And also, the game's frame rate was all over the place for me, which is a bit weird considering I can run most games just fine. Not like on the highest specs at all, but definitely well enough. So the fact that some poduncle-ass Swery games somehow had problems running right kinda fumbled my jumbles. And thus, I set out on an epic Google adventure and found out that running the game without Steam and in admin mode should make it run better. But for some reason it wouldn't let me do that, and there aren't really any in-game graphics options either, which sucks fucking dick. Still though, compared to Deadly Premonition's PC port, this is a fuck of a whole lot better, as at least it doesn't crash or cause blue screens for people. But I do fear that this game may have been better with Kinect.
Ha 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 ha, kill me.